I've been doing my art since 1990. In my spare time from my business, I would do oil pastels, which was my first medium. I suffer from what's called bipolar, which you bounce from deep depression into manic highs, and it's great for business. You get to achieve a lot, but during those highs, I also paint like crazy and create like crazy. My mental health, because of my treatment, which is Epival, the highs and the lows are even now, and it's much more comfortable. So I find myself creating much more often. However, I find that when I did get manic, I produced a lot more. Because of the manic episodes, you just go, go, go. So I used to produce a lot more during those periods than I do when I'm balanced out. But it's far more comfortable to be balanced out. I think it gives us a different perspective on things. And because of pain, because of different perspectives on seeing the world, I think it's a definite plus, actually. And I think that correlation between mental health and creativity is extremely strong. Because of my deep depressions that come on, I don't usually paint when I'm deeply depressed. But it definitely keeps a balance. It gives you something to express yourself with. It kind of gives me something that I'm giving back actually to the world. Because I believe that when you make a painting, it's no longer yours, it belongs to everybody. So it kind of heals the soul. Sometimes I paint, especially with my spiritual art, and it just seems to happen. It's like I didn't even do it. It's just kind of there, and it just comes through. And then it is called artwork because it is work sometimes. And it's kind of more of a challenge during those periods where you actually have to work harder on it. It's not always truly inspired. I studied definitely all of the masters. I've never taken a course in my life from anybody. I'm completely self-taught. And I think that's part of the reason I do such a variety. The one I'm most proud of, actually, I painted it in 1997, and it's Mother Teresa and the Child. And it's a semi-anglicized child that she would have picked up in Calcutta. And the piece actually means that she's picking up the Christ child because with every child, she's doing Christ's work. And it was chosen for the Pope's message on the poster for the Pope's message for the 2014 World Sick Day. So I'm very proud of that. When I founded the Different Strokes Art Group, I wanted to bring a group of artists all with mental illness together that could maybe create, but they didn't have the sales and marketing background or the business background that I did. I established 3 galleries of our own here in Kingston. And we also traveled to the Touch by Fire show in Toronto and participate on that. It's called the Show That You Must Be Crazy to Enter. So it's all people with mental health issues from different groups in Toronto, usually at the ROM, Royal Ontario Museum. Our mantra under the Different Strokes, our moniker, if you will, is Artists Fighting Stigma. It's a great group. We have roughly 60 artists now. Some of them are not always well enough to participate as far as coming to some of the meetings, but their artwork is always in the galleries. It's done a lot of wonderful things. It's given them a small income, in addition to validating their creativity and what they do, and makes them feel good about themselves and gives them confidence in their creativity.
My son is 37, and I think I started the artwork. I just picked it up on my own, and he was about 3. So at least 33 years ago. I have post-traumatic stress syndrome, depression. I'm paranoid. It's actually a terrible thing because if I get thinking the wrong way, I'm thinking the person's laughing at me or making fun of me, or and I get really down and depressed. I isolate a lot. I don't hang with anybody. I stay in the apartment mostly. Like the artwork does keep me out of my head. I'm so interested in the details of the artwork, and and what I'm doing, the thoughts and the depression, or like I'll think about a lot of things from the past and stuff like that, and it'll bring me right down. But I am so focused into the painting that it just takes that away. Some of the birds I've done is really good. Well, to me, birds they're so free and colorful. The colors, they're pretty, very pretty. Especially, well, the males mostly. If I were to do more artwork, yes, it would help my mental illness.
I've been doing art most of my life. I was doing it long before I ever had a diagnosis. I would say that I have anxiety and depression would be the main things. My art has been very important to me and has helped me to deal with my mental illness. I think if I didn't have that in my life, I probably would have broken down a long time ago. I avoid using things like drugs or alcohol or anything like that, but I find that helps as a release of a lot of tensions and anxieties in my life. And it helps me to just get a lot of my thoughts and feelings out. Sometimes I feel too much anxiety in my life, and it helps to calm it down. In other cases, the medication can also make you feel duller at times and not as creative either. I usually draw like maybe about 6 or 7 drawings per week. One of my favorites was I did the crucifixion of Colonel Sanders, which was done by a bunch of chickens. So I had Colonel Sanders in place of Jesus Christ. A lot of my work is based on the idea of how things that are apparently normal, I like to turn it on its ear. I've had some of mine published in the Queen's Art Book for Mental Health, known as Heads Up. And I've also had my stuff published in calendars for art books as well, hoping just to get recognition and to be noticed as regular people rather than being stigmatized as mentally ill.
I was doing art. Basically, when I started public school, I'd always get finished my work, so I'd sit there and draw, and my teachers found it a bit odd, but I explained, it helps. At first, my diagnosis for mental health would be severe depression, but then they redid my diagnosis last year, and it was upgraded to PTSD disorder. With PTSD, like they said, it's like a ticking time bomb. You don't know when it's gonna go off or what sets it off. And I noticed sometimes you can't really heal as fast as what people think you can with this disorder. Currently, none of the medications are working for my diagnosis. I do have to go see a psychiatrist so they can readjust it, but I keep telling them that the meds aren't working, so I just use my art. That sort of calms me, and it feels good, like not having to take all the pills that don't work. I find with having mental illness, it helps express a lot I find it helps me, and it calms me down if I'm upset. I would say with the moods, like if you're really upset, it sort of shows, like it sort of goes away when you draw your emotions out, like in like the canvas or the picture. No, that people shouldn't assume because we have mental illnesses that, just don't have a perspective going into an art show thinking, okay, they have mental illnesses, like what can we expect from the picture that's in our head of that we're actually thinking a mental illness, and they go in and they see something different. That needs to stop, because just because we have mental illnesses doesn't mean that, we can't, I don't know, do sceneries or take awesome photographs.
I've been told I was quite creative from a very young age, and I dabbled, mainly drawing, things like that. And then about 1986, I started doing it seriously, after my grandfather's encouragement. My bipolar illness was it came on as 1982, about 82, but I was misdiagnosed. I have to watch myself because I'm bipolar. And if I'm depressed, it shows my art, and I have to stop because I don't like to show that. And I have to watch when I'm in a high, because I begin to ruin the painting itself. So it's kind of a delicate balance between the moods. When I'm stable, right in the middle, and the medication doesn't help it, I do produce more. My art helps me with my mental illness, and it gives me a day-to-day focus on actually doing something positive every day. I can look at it and see where the reds kind of fit with the highs. It's difficult to explain because art is subjective, and putting into words for me what's on the canvas is nearly impossible. But it does help. It sort of explains my illness to myself when I look at it, when I finish it. It's just dealing with everyday life. You know, if somebody's having a difficult day, you know, I'll paint that. Well, I won't paint the person having a difficult day. I'll paint just a person having a difficult day. Or if somebody's having a good day, I'll paint that. You know, it's just people on the street, walking down the street, sitting in cafes, bars, whatever. I'm proud of them all. I'm just proud that I can actually do it, you know. I just go canvas to canvas. Somebody's talking about getting me to do a one-man show, which I am not entirely convinced I want to do yet, but I probably will. So that's probably where I am right now. And of course, Different Strokes, of course. I'm on the board. I am the curator, so that is important to me too.
I started my art in college before my diagnosis came about. What happened was I was in college and I got very sick in terms of I was hallucinating and hearing voices, and I didn't know what was happening with me. So I quit the school because I thought everybody was up against me. The next day, I got a check in the mail for $25,000 grant to live on and go to school for my third year. And I proceeded to go back. I looked at the check for all night, and I proceeded to go back to the college and hand it back to the lady at the desk. Could you return this to whoever it belongs to? My mental health challenges are schizoaffectiveness. It's manic depression and schizophrenia. With the schizophrenia, it's very mild with me. I have a tendency to hear voices once in a while, but mostly controlled with medication. My medication influenced me in a positive way because I can think more clearly when I'm on medication. If I'm not on medication, I have a tendency to hear voices and hallucinate. So you're too busy with that to actually create anything. You're more or less in your bed with your head over your the covers over your head because you're scared of what you're hearing and seeing. By expressing my my views on a canvas makes me feel better inside. And I can cope better by putting it down on paint than keeping it all bottled up inside. I really literally paint every day. It keeps me sane, basically, in terms of just being able to cope with not going to bed. It stops me from going to bed and staying in bed from my manic depression. A lot of people with mental illnesses can't go out and get a job and do the normal thing like 9 to 5 jobs and so having a creative outlet is very important. Keeping with my artwork has motivated me to be better with myself and my mental illness in terms of being able to create something and put it down on canvas is the main thing I need to do in my life, I find.